Hey everybody, welcome to the show. So good to see everybody. We are happy to be with you once again on the Friday night. I always look forward to this time. Got a awesome these awesome fellas right here I know are the same. It's good to see everybody. If you will, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button on whatever channel you're watching it from, and we are glad you are here. If you have any questions, please put a Q bomb in the comments and we will get to you as soon as possible. How's everything going, Larry? You doing all right today, man?
Everything's great, man.
Good.
Uh, yeah, I haven't got much sleep today, as I told you earlier. I was up all night editing, but those we're walking every day, feeling good, and I'm glad to be here. Glad to hang out with you guys and answer some folks' questions. You know, whether they're first starting the carnivore diet or, none of us are doctors, but we definitely have some experience eating this way. So I'm ready to chat.
Awesome.
How about you, Kip?
I'm doing wonderful. I just knocked off work and it's time for the weekend, and I got a 3-day weekend, so I'm pumped and I'm ready. I'm excited to chat with y'all. What about you, Dave?
I'm very happy to be here, very excited, and looking forward to the next hour or two chatting about carnivore stuff with you guys.
Absolutely. It's gonna be a great time seeing so many jumping in to the chat. All the chat going by extremely quick. So I'm glad to see you guys. Chafee, I guess he's running a little bit behind, so we was just gonna kick it off because we were so happy to see you guys. So if he comes in, he can jump in whenever he gets here. And until then, we're just gonna have a good time. What you guys think?
Absolutely.
Sounds good.
There's semi-retired Bob. It's good to see you. Addicted to antlers. K Girl's mom. Man, there's so many in the chat. What you guys see any questions that I might have missed so far yet? I haven't noticed any coming in yet.
Let's have a scan down.
Just know that I explain this every time. Most of you guys who are regulars know if you're viewing from another channel, you're not going to see the comments because it's streamed to everyone's channel. So wherever you're seeing it from, you're not probably going to see the comments that are on Carnivore Kips channel or Carnivore Quest or No Carb Life or even Dr. Chafee. I believe we're on his channel as well, even though he's not here. It's got a check mark by his thing as well. So um, just be aware of that. Good to see Amber Dan's Carnivore Life in tonight. It's good to see you guys. Cats Whisper.
Yeah, Bob, Nicole, great to see you. Brooke.
Absolutely.
Joyce Butler, Richard, what's up?
Man, there's so many. And great to catch a live from the UK. It's 2 a.m. and a thunderstorm woke you up. Man, it's good to have you. Even though it's wee hours of the morning over there. Glad you could join us today.
Sean, there's a question there at 9:03 from Brian. Yeah. Brain Games.
Wrong 903, but yeah, there's one. What bacon is the best to eat? Kip, what you think, man? You been smoking any bacon lately?
All of it. Bacon, bacon, bacon. Nah, some of it, some of the bacon is has more sugar in it or whatever. So just try to get something that's got the lowest amount of like carb, sugar, anything like that. And if it's got the fewer ingredients it has, the better. But I mean, honestly, I'll just get great value bacon from Walmart and be perfectly fine with it. What about you, Larry?
Cassie's favorite bacon is Wright's bacon, and I also like the Great Value thick cut hickory smoked bacon. It's pretty clean, and it's phenomenal. That's my favorite bacon, and it's really reasonable. So,
awesome.
How about you, Dave? How about you, Dave?
So I'm not a good one to ask about this. I don't eat bacon because you can't get stuff without sugar in Japan that I've found. So yeah, I would just say anything without a lot of additives is good.
What's going on, Dr. Chafee? It's good to see you tonight, my friend. What kind of bacon do you eat at all?
Hey guys, good to see you. Yeah, well, I'm sort of the same as Dave. There aren't really many good options here without sugar, so I rarely eat bacon unless I'm at like a restaurant and I need to sort of order something. But the alternative to that would be pork belly. And that's just the same cut and and none of the additives, and you can sort of salt it or smoke it or do whatever you want to, or just cook it up normal. In America, what I was doing, there was I think it was a brand called Hempler's that had no sugar cure, and Pedersen's, and they had a no sugar cure as well. And there's others, but yeah, that's what I would go for, is the no sugar cure generally.
Absolutely. Awesome. I don't know what it is. Even in my journey, the bacon, I've cut way back on the bacon for some reason. I haven't on the eggs. I love the eggs, love the butter. Obviously, the ribeye is a mainstay, but the bacon, for some reason, I just haven't desired it like I used to. So, Janet, let's see. Thanks for the comment. Can Larry please tell a bit about his story? He is new to me, and carnivore. I'm carnivore 88 days and in a stall for about 2 weeks now. Absolutely, Larry. Would you mind sharing a little bit of your story for Janet to hear?
Sure, Janet. I started the carnivore diet coming off the keto diet about 2 years ago, and I was doing really well. I started at 315 pounds. My wife Cassie started at 274 pounds, and we had some success for like 3 months, and then we made some mistakes. We tumbled, we spiraled, and we gained some weight, and gained a lot of weight actually. We actually had already started our YouTube channel, and on our YouTube channel, I ended up gaining 80 pounds during that time, which was pretty difficult to do that in front of the world. But once we recommitted, my daughter got pregnant, and my other daughter was married, or was going to be married. So kind of gave me a new motivation. So we planted our feet and said, we're just not going to cheat anymore. We're going to stick to the diet. And we have since then, and been feeling great. I've lost 90 pounds. My wife has lost almost 80 pounds now. And that's been in about 16 months. And, we've documented the entire thing on our channel. When we started the channel, there weren't many people who, were really heavy and had a YouTube channel trying to do the carnivore diet. Most folks had already lost their weight and then started a channel. So it was uncharted territory and a little nerve-wracking at times, but we built a great community, an amazing community, and made a lot of friends. So as far as medically, I haven't gotten rid of my CPAP machine yet. I still have it, but my blood pressure is normalized, and I'm getting around more. Actually, this month, I'm actually starting to implement a lot of walking. So we're doing really good. I'm feeling great, and the best I have in years, actually. So I hope that answered your question. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. And to check more out, if you guys check out the links in the description, all of us put the links to everybody in there. If you want to find out more about Larry or Dave or Kip or Dr. Chafee or myself, you can just jump in the links, and all of us have more stuff there available for you, friend. But thank you. Brain games. Let's see here. It's satiety a physical concept? Your stomach is full, or is it a psychological concept? Physical. I don't know what I just said. Physical concept or stomach. I thought I read it wrong. Psychological component to it. Why is fat more satiable? Won't a bag of chips fill you up as much as a pound of meat?
Nope.
No, right. I'll go ahead, Dr. Che. I was going to go to the leptins and ghrelin and describe the chips. Go for it.
Yeah, well, look, there's a lot of hormonal components as well, but there are also nutritional ones. So it was thought and described to people that all you had to do was eat a lot of mass, and that would make you feel full. You'd hit your stretch receptors, and that would release leptin from your stomach. It would suppress ghrelin from your stomach, because if it's empty, it's going to release ghrelin. If it's full and stretched out, it's going to release leptin. And so they said in the 80s, and I remember them saying this when I was a kid, that if you just eat a whole bunch of fiber, then this will stretch that out. You'll feel full, you'll feel satiated, and you won't actually be getting any calories or nutrition. Isn't that great? No, that's not great. You do want nutrients. You do want nutrition. That's the entire point. That's the only point of eating. And your body is not as dumb as you are. So it doesn't just look at that leptin. When you're eating carbohydrates or other sorts of things, you're going to raise your insulin. That's going to suppress ghrelin. That's going to suppress your blood sugar. You're going to have low blood sugar. You're going to feel like garbage. More, your body tracks nutrients. It does not track calories, and it does not just track the stretch receptors in your stomach. It's far more complicated than that. You have receptors in your stomach that actually track your fat, protein, minerals, vitamins, and things like that. Goes up your vagus nerve to your brain and just tells your brain, hey, this is how much is coming down the pipe. Long before it's ever absorbed, your brain already knows what is coming. And this is why you can eat a meal and it's still in your stomach. It hasn't gone anywhere. And you just go, you know what? I'm full. I'm fine. I don't need any more. Even if you're not physically full, even if you haven't hit your stretch receptors, you may have a couple bites of meat and just go like, you know what? I don't really need any more. I'm actually good. Your stomach could be completely empty and you could feel completely fine because your brain knows that you don't need any more nutrients. So no, you're not going to get the same satisfaction from just eating an equal amount of food. That was what was lied to us back in the 80s. And anyone who has done that horrible diet can tell you that you eat a whole bunch of plants, you just feel bloated and sick and miserable, and you're hungry. You're hungry all the time. So no, the reason that fat is so satiating is because that is one of the major nutrients your body is going after. And so when you get those saturated fats and fat soluble vitamins and essential fatty acids, your brain just goes, okay, great, because that is one of the main nutrients that your body is looking for, as well as the amino acids. And so you get fatty, the fat of the animal with the lean parts of the animal. You're going to get complete nutrition. And everyone says you need a balanced diet. That is a balanced diet. That is a perfect balance of all the essential nutrients that you need in the proportion that you need them. That's what a balanced diet means, and that's what a steak is. So that's why that's so satiating, because your body knows a hell of a lot more than we do about this, and it can tell when you're actually getting real nutrition, and it'll tell you about it, which is satiety.
Awesome. Hey, Kip, how have you noticed that? Being you started in January, correct? So how is a way that you can show that in the example, like the satiation that you've seen change since you started doing carnivore with satiation from the way you're eating?
Well, I mean, I'm probably eating about 2 pounds of meat a day, and before I was probably eating about close to the same amount of meat. I feel like, because I used to eat a ton of meat before, but I ate everything else with it, and I ate the carbs with it and all the other stuff. So once I cut a lot of the other things out, I mean, I'm getting tons of pretty much all the nutrition that I need from the meat, and so. I mean, and now, of course, when I first started, I ate a little bit more, because I was kind of worried, like, oh my gosh, is this actually going to work for like the first week or two? But within the first week or two's time, it just kind of started working out well, and I haven't had any issues.
Awesome. That's good to hear. It's amazing how it works. All Father, thanks for the super chat. We appreciate it, man. Good night, gentlemen. Dr. Chapey, I signed up for your Patreon on the 5th, one from Soul fan to another. Thanks for the work. Sean, Dave, be well. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. Yeah, and Thomas Sowell is absolutely amazing. So if people haven't checked him out, they really should. That no one really digs deeper into like just to getting down to the bedrock of a situation, just to show what the facts are than him. And like reading his books are just like a masterclass on how to think and approach a problem, as opposed to what to think, which is something that we have to contend with a lot. Everyone's telling you what to think as opposed to how to think for yourself and how to look at information and come to your own conclusions. And Sowell is just the best at that.
Absolutely. He actually was born in the same town that my grandma was, right outside of
right
outside of Charlotte there. That's anyway, fun fact. Sorry, that's what every time I think of him, that's what I think of.
Nice.
Alan asks, do you have any suggestions on what to do about my diagnosis of my hiatal hernia?
Well, I mean, that's something that you'll need to bring up with your doctor. Most people find that the symptoms of a hiatal hernia, which are very similar to reflux or are reflux, do improve on a carnivore diet. But you have a physical aberration. That's a anatomical defect where the stomach sort of pokes back up through the diaphragm, or the opening where the esophagus goes down is a little wider, so the stomach can sort of push up in there. So that's just depending on how big that is, that can cause different sorts of problems. So you can certainly improve your symptoms, but it's not going to plug that hole. Not so far as I've seen anyway. I wouldn't think that it would, but you can certainly get reduction in your symptoms and have it be much more pleasant to deal with, but it isn't going to fix that anatomy. So that's something that, if that is causing you a significant problem, that's something that can be fixed surgically, and that would be something you need to talk to your doctor about.
I had to even mention this. Like, I had like a protruding thing and saw the doctor, and he told me that it was a hernia right there in the middle of my, and I didn't, until he just asked that question. I had not even thought about it until this time, but I don't have a protrusion right under my sternum there. So yeah, I mean, it was the size of a softball, and I don't know. I just remember that, and it's completely. So,
well, I mean, the tissue could have strengthened up. If it's in the midline like that, could be a hernia, but it could be also what's called a divarication or divarification. Can't remember. It's been a decade since I looked at the word. Anyway, it's instead of pushing through all the layers of the abdomen, it just sort of pushes them up and out a bit, and just sort of bulges up through that. So it's not like a full hernia where it's actually going through all the layers of the tissue, but it's just sort of pushing up. And so if you had that, and the tissue sort of strengthened up, it could just sort of tighten back down, and then that wouldn't bulge through at that point. If it was an actual hole and was open, it would be less likely that it could just heal like that. But stranger things have happened. Hiatal hernia, you don't see it; it's internal, and it's they're at birth. So it's just a different way that people are born sometimes, if the diaphragm isn't just, sealed off, and sometimes people don't notice it, and other times people do get some indigestion, but either way, you can, you can just see how it goes with carnivore. And if your symptoms have settled down mostly with that, then great. And if that hasn't taken care of all of it, there are other options. I mean, there are good things that medicine can do. And dealing with those sorts of congenital abnormalities is one of them. So don't write that off just yet.
Absolutely. Let's see here. I saw another super chat. 2 super chats come in. Dr. Chafee, ribeyes have a 50-50 ratio of protein to fat in grams weight. How do you usually get up to 70-30 ratio if you generally eat or only eat ribeye?
Yeah, so this is a good question, and it's about understanding what those ratios mean. So when people talk about 70-30, they're talking about calories. So they're talking about calories from fat, calories from protein, and the way you get that is by having 50-50 grams. So 50% grams come from protein, 50% grams come from fat. That equals 70% calories from fat and 30% calories from protein. I think that talking about grams is much more useful, A, because you can measure it, and B, because calories is a bit of a it's a misnomer. Like, I mean, we're not combustion engines. We don't burn these things. It's that's the amount of energy that's released when you burn something, right? But that's not how we use those chemicals and those molecules. We are chemical factories, and each, there are dozens of different types of carbohydrates. Each of those are individual, unique chemicals, and they have unique chemical interactions in your body. Same with proteins and amino acids, and same with all the fatty acids. They're all unique individual molecules, and all have unique individual interactions in your body. So a calorie is not a calorie is not a calorie, and anyone who has told you that has not paid attention in school. And so, going by grams is much better. So most people find that about equal grams of fat and protein is roughly what their body needs, but you need enough fat, you need enough protein. They're both essential nutrients. And so that's generally where people level out, is around 50-50. Some need a bit more fat, some need a bit more protein. And but if you aim for about equal number of grams, that should get you in the ballpark, and then you can sort of adjust for your individual needs.
Absolutely. Adam, thank you so much. I didn't get any text with the super chat, but I do appreciate it, sir. Thank you for donating, and I appreciate you doing that as my friend. Let's see here. How should a diabetic on keto carnivore treat viral flu, cold, like pharyngitis with using sugar-laden lozenges and cough syrups? TA. Hey, Dave, what have you been sick and had to experience this? Is there something in particular that you have used whenever you got the flu, or no?
Yeah, I was quite sick. About 9 months ago and lost my voice. And I treated it just by drinking as much water as I could, and adding salt to it where I felt I needed it, and I just kept it up like that. I thought, if I'm gonna have a lozenge or something that's even slightly sweet, that's gonna throw me off. So I just kept drinking water. And I have read that people say when you lose your voice, don't whisper, because that makes it worse. So I just focused on, when I did need to speaking normally, or trying to speak normally, not whispering. Anyone else? Larry, have you had any experience with that?
I'm not going to jump in on that one, but I am going to say, because I know Cassie's watching, honey, come get the kitty. She's about to knock down the lights and everything. Yeah, we have a kitten. She's about 9 weeks old, and she found her way in here. So, honey, could you come in and grab her?
Last week it was Chafe, or a week before it was Chafe's cat. Now it's your cat. Kip, man, listen, that's what I'm telling you right there, friend. Those things are the devil. You got to watch out for them cats. If I got one, it would be swinging from the over here, probably attacking the side of my neck. Just
my light right now is just like, it's just teetering.
I guess next week I'll have to bring my 2 golden retrievers in here and we'll have a party.
Really.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Yeah, I haven't even been sick while I've been on carnivore. One time I got sick, and it was over fairly quickly, but I absolutely can't stand those lozenges anyway. Most of the time, I just think they're candy and they're ineffective at what they were doing. I have had the Tessalon pearls before for really bad cough and stuff, but other than that, there's no way I could eat those lozenges at this point. Dr. Chafee, what about you, man? What do you think? What do you have?
I agree with all that. I mean, I don't think you need those things to numb up your throat. It's every time I've actually used like the spray, like a numbing spray, like I've just regretted it. I'm like, oh, that's disgusting. It tastes horrible. It makes the back of your throat feel numb and weird. And now you're just feeling that weird, numb, horrible feeling, instead of just a bit of pain. So, the best thing to do is just drink plenty of water and get rest, and try to, stick as closely to, eating properly, because that's what's going to support your immune system. That's what's going to support you and get you through that infection as quick as possible. So yeah, I totally agree. Maybe even some warm water, instead of making tea, making, just hot water and sipping that, and just having that sort of warm, soothing, experience with the warm water, bone broth, something like that. But yeah, I would avoid anything with sweeteners, those lozenges and things like that. Yeah, I don't think they do much anyway, apart from just entertain you while you're sick, of just eating candy. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to do this because I'm sick. I get to, but no, it's not very helpful. I found.
Absolutely. Hey, do you stay in touch with a professor that told you that plants could kill you?
Oh man, I have been trying to track that guy down for years. I did not keep in touch with him, unfortunately. Dude is my hero. I'm just hoping that, like, one day I can try to track him down. I tried looking through the curriculum or the syllabus in the University of Washington at that time. I forget exactly what quarter I was there taking it, but I've looked at a number of different quarters and sections, and I thought it was just called cancer biology. And so I've been looking for that a few times. I should go back and really do a much more deeper look and try to find it. But unfortunately, I wasn't able to find the class or the professor. But if I always sort of have a weird like fantasy, like maybe this will get out enough and be like, hey, hold on a second, that was my line, and like maybe he'll contact me or something like that. But we'll see. But if I can find him and track him down, then I definitely will, and I will definitely have him on the podcast to talk about everything. Wow. And yeah,
absolutely. Frank, thanks for the super chat. I often eat processed meat such as bologna, gas station bacon, and Jack Link sausages. It's a terrible habit. What ingredients should I avoid? What do you think about that, Kip? You're the one doing the smoking and grilling. What should he avoid in the processed meats?
Well, I mean, some carnivores aren't going to agree with this or whatever. And in a perfect world, you want to stay away from some of that stuff and just eat like either hamburger meat or ribeye or something like that. But in the real world, everybody, has different things going on in their life. So sometimes I will eat a hot dog. I try to get the cleanest ingredient ones that I can find and definitely have the lowest carb count. And same with sausage and things like that. But I mean, I just do the best that I can. But I mean, I think that it's best if you can stay away from that stuff. But I mean, I just do the best I can. What about you, Dave?
Yeah, I would try and stay away from any of that kind of stuff. Like basically, if it looks like it's been packaged up, I'm a little bit scared of it, even if it's in a deli. So like, yeah, I just go to the meat counter. That's it. Larry, how about you?
Yeah, I don't eat much of it at all. Only in a pinch. When I'm out working, this is like very rarely, but I always keep a couple cans of Vienna sausages in my glove compartment. So I crack one open and just get a little snack. But I think I've done that twice in the last year. We really don't eat a whole lot of processed meat. I'm more apt to stop at like a Wendy's or a McDonald's and just get some burger patties if I'm out working and I'm away from home. So, but I have used the Vienna sausages. I actually had Spam for the first time about a year ago, and that wasn't all that great. But that's really my only experience with the processed meats. We have done deli meat, like say on a road trip, wrap it up with a little cheese when we are consuming cheese. But that's about it.
Bro, I was raised on Spam. You just had it the other day. I don't even feel sorry for you. Here, I was raised right here. Like we didn't.
My dad grew up during the Depression, and I had heard of Spam, but he would not allow it in the house.
Yeah,
because he ate so much of it during that time, and then when he was in the Korean War, they ate a lot of it too. And yeah, I actually did a reaction video on our channel about a year ago. First time eating Spam. Yeah, it's very salty.
Yeah. It's never been in my house either, but and it's not coming in. But I was absolutely raised on it. What about you, Chevy? How much Spam you had this week?
Yeah. I don't think I've ever tried Spam. I think I've looked at it once and was just like, yeah, I kind of wanted to try it. I don't think it ever happened. But no, look, it's all relative, isn't it? If that's the option that you have instead of like a pizza or a bagel or some garbage like that, go for it. Meat is the meat part of it is great. So when you're looking at, the different ingredients, what ingredients should you avoid? Anything that doesn't say meat, then that's what you should avoid, right? So ingredients should just say meat. And And so, you know, it has, you know, the soy and the sugar and the teriyaki sauce and like the 9,000 different, you know, chemical names that they've put in there for, I don't know, for some damn reason. You know, those are the ones you want to avoid. So, you know, if you're eating, you know, processed meats and things like that, you know, they say that, well, processed meats are bad for you. Well, what are they processed with? It's not more meat. You know, it's all that chemical crap and plants and seasonings and soy and sugar, right? So that's what's bad for you. And so you just want to try to avoid as much of that as possible. Just like the bacon question, you know, you try to get bacon that has as few ingredients besides pig as possible, right? And so that's what you want to do. I mean, if you're in a bind though, you know, and you need to get some, you know, jack links, whatever, fine. It's more expensive to do that as well though, and it is much cheaper to just buy whole meat and just cook up a steak. Even a steak is cheaper than beef jerky, right? And it's better for you too, because, you know, beef jerky usually has a lot of soy and sugar and things like that. And so, you know, I agree with Larry. You know, if I'm out, you know, I will just go to like a Burger King or a McDonald's or whatever and just get the beef patties, and it's cheap. You know, especially in America. And in Australia, it's about 3 times as expensive to do that. But it's still cheap enough. And, you know, in the States, it's really cheap. So, I mean, I think I went to Jack in the Box once and got a whole bunch of their big patties. It was like 80 cents a patty, you know? So I got like 10 of these patties. It was $8, you know? And I think it was with cheese. I mean, it was just so cheap. It was so cheap. And like, that's what it was like, that was food for 24 hours. Yeah. Right. So, you know, that's a really good option as well. You know, if you can plan in advance, cook a steak, put it in like a metal container. I don't use plastic because I don't like to draw off the plastics. Put like a metal or a ceramic container, a glass container, whatever. Then you just have a steak, you know, and if you're driving, you cut up into little chunks and you have a car steak. I've done that so many times. And, you know, I have a picture on my Instagram where I was actually driving on a hey kiddo, I was driving on a road trip, and I just had a full steak, and I just like stuck it on a fork, and I was just like eating it like a lollipop, you know. And so, like, you know, that there's things you can do. It seems a bit funny, but there are always options, and you can avoid that stuff. But if it's down between that and like pizza and crap like that, then, you know, go for it.
Absolutely, I agree. I've heard. I was gonna say hey to the sweet girl, but she got gone. Now
she's got to go to bed.
That's right. Yeah, I get it. Mine are my son's actually in Atlanta. Braves. No, he's with my mom this week, so the house is kind of empty. My daughter's still running amok and running the house, so I get it, my friend. Oh man. So let's see here. I'm gonna get behind on these super chats. I appreciate all the super chats, guys. You guys are awesome. Lindy asks, "How do I use my stored body fat if eating even more fat, please?" Watching from Australia, thank you. Well, Dave, what you got? What do you have for that, man? What would you say to Lindy here? Sorry, I took it down.
I would say, well, you're eating more fat, but your body is your body's not storing it the same way as you would be if you're eating carbohydrate. So that's the thing, right? So I think maybe this question comes a little bit from thinking of like all food is just calories, I guess. So it's not really the calories or the amount of food that you're eating or what it is, it's what your body's going to do with it. And so, you know, if you're eating fat and your body can utilize that fat to nourish your body, then, you know, that's why you're going to be losing stored body fat, because it's able to also, not eating those carbohydrates is freeing your body up to use that stored body fat in the way it needs to, I think. Kip, have you got any thoughts?
I didn't even see what the question was. I was focused on her crying in the room, so you can go on to the next person. If Larry hadn't answered it, he can.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, all I can add to that is my personal experience. Dr. Chafee could probably answer this a little more in detail, but as far as I go, when we first started, I lost 50 pounds in about 60 days, and I found my appetite just decreasing. I was eating quite a bit of fat, 2 meals a day, but I automatically went down to 1 meal a day. And then I lost about 20, 30 more pounds, and then I caught a stall.
Mhm.
And I think I was under eating. I mean, I just one meal a day and I was good. Um, you know, as far as consuming fat to lose fat, I, from a layperson, have always just looked at it like, you know, you're consuming fat, you're fat adapted, and you're revving up the engine.
Mhm.
Does that make sense, Dr. Chafee?
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Well, again, these are nutrients. They're not just calories, right? And so it's not just, oh, well, I have fat, I don't need to eat fat. It's like, well, I wholeheartedly, get that sentiment, right? But there are nutrients in there. And there are things in there that you need, and your body does want some of them. It's not just a one-to-one. It's just like, oh, if you take fat, you'll just use this fat. No, in fact, your body is going to store more fat if you restrict. And so you'll actually reduce your metabolism and you'll go into a starvation state, which is your body saying like, okay, we're in a famine and we don't have enough nutrients. And so, that's you're going to hold things back. So even bariatric surgeons will tell their patients that if you eat less than 1,200 calories a day, you won't lose weight, right? You have to eat a certain threshold of calories, nutrition a day, or your body's just looking at that. Your body doesn't know. Your body is very fiscally responsible. Sort of think of it as like, the way government should spend money. It's just like, okay, it was a downturn, less money coming in. Okay, we're just going to spend less money. That's what we're going to do. And this is like, no, we're going to blow out the debt, max out the credit cards. Well, that's stupid. But your body's not stupid. Your body knows that you can't spend money that you don't have. And so if you don't have money coming in, your body's just going to be like, okay, well, we need to save this and we need to store this. And instead of, what little's coming in, we use that. No, we're actually going to use even less than that. And we're going to save more. Okay. So it's very responsible. And then when you win the lottery and you just have all this money coming in and all this nutrition coming in, your body just goes, whoa, hey, yeah, we're not in lean times anymore. We can actually use this. So you ramp up your metabolism and you end up losing, seemingly paradoxically, you end up losing more fat because you're eating more and you're eating more fat. So this is an essential nutrient. It is required for life. Your body will prioritize your body fat and using that if it's getting enough nutrients and fat and protein as well. So a lot of people find that they can stall or not lose as much weight, or they'll lose weight at first and then they start eating a little more and then they start putting on weight because their metabolism is depressed. And so you don't want that. You want to ramp up your metabolism and you'll lose weight. Also, you got to realize that a lot of the fat that's in our bodies that we've stored up from, improper means is not actually healthy fat. A lot of these things are like linoleic acid and omega-6s and things like that actually get stored. There's a direct correlation between obesity or just body fat in general and omega-6s, which are horrible for you. Your body can't use them as energy. They're toxic. And so, as you get more and more body fat, you get more and more deposition of omega-6s, or vice versa. You get more omega-6s and you get more body fat, and then you have to work through that, get rid of that crap, right? But you're not going to if you're not giving your body what it needs to replace that with. So that's something that you need to think about as well. So it's not the same thing. Your body doesn't just use that fat instead of this fat because you're eating. Your body will absolutely lose fat when you're eating properly and exercising. Getting out and walking is very good for you, and resistance exercising, weightlifting, anaerobic exercise. That's the best for health, hormonal health, longevity, putting on muscle, and losing fat, and especially visceral fat, which is metabolically active. It's hormonally active as well. It produces estrogen. And so that makes it very difficult, especially for men, to lose weight if they're not getting all the other things in line as well.
Yeah, I'd like to interject something there. Just this past 8 days, walking every day, I've noticed my appetite increase. And now I'm not having a problem at all eating 2 meals a day. Before I was pretty sedentary, especially when I started working on the YouTube channel more, being at a desk. But this month, I actually put the effort in and physically have been pushing myself, and my appetite has increased quite a bit. So I really do think I was under eating. So that was really interesting, Dr. Chafee. Very cool.
Slowing down that metabolism. And the only thing I want to add to what all these wonderful gentlemen have already said and answered so officially is, you said, how can I use stored body fat if eating more fat? by not putting sugar and carbs in. Keep your insulin low. Keep your insulin low. Keep your blood sugar low. I added fat like crazy. Today, I actually did what I tell people oftentimes not to do. I added too much fat, and I paid the price almost all day long. So that's how my day's going. But it was great because the butter was my favorite Kerrygold, and I went and got some fatty ribeyes. And so, nevertheless, I digress.
Speaking of what you ate, Sean, what everybody eat today? Start with you, Dave.
10 eggs, 600 grams of ground beef. Yeah. Kip, how about you?
For lunch I had some patties from like hamburger patties from Sonic, and then for supper I ate a ribeye cooked in Wagyu tallow.
Ooh,
Nice. Yeah. I haven't eaten yet today, so it's still morning. So I normally eat at night, and yeah. So yeah.
I forget that it's what 9 o'clock there, or about 9:40 something there.
Yeah, 9:40 in the morning. Yeah.
I keep forgetting. I think you're like next door, next town over, but all the way around the world, we got Australia, we got Alabama, we got Tokyo, and then the closest one is about an hour away, Mr. Larry from me here. But yeah, I had a fatty ribeye, amazing, the biggest. Oh man, it was a plate full, and about a half a stick of butter with some salt. This morning at 10 o'clock, I had eggs, mixed the yolks with hot water and butter and salt, and my good old trusty sparkling water. So, because I'm addicted to this stuff for some reason, but that's it, man. Too much butter today though, because I paid for it, but it was good.
Yeah. Well, that's another, to add on to that, to the last question, is just like, well, what if you're eating too much fat and, they won't lose fat? It's like, well, your body won't absorb it, and with cholesterol, people worry about cholesterol. Well, first of all, you should not worry about cholesterol. It's an essential nutrient, but when your body will actually pull in cholesterol depending on your demand and your need for cholesterol. So, this is why, we see like, oh, wow, people aren't really absorbing all that much dietary cholesterol. Well, that depends on need. If you need more cholesterol, your body will pull in more cholesterol. If you don't need all that much, it'll just be like, nope, you can stay out there. So your body's very, very careful about what it brings in and what it tries to be anyway. And that goes with fat as well. So, if you run out of bile and your body's just saying, no, we don't need all that much fat, like it'll just go out and you'll get loose stools. So you'll know about it. So it's very difficult to overeat fat. Your body knows what it's doing, as long as you just stay out of its way and don't mess it up with carbs and sugar and all the other sorts of plant toxins that disrupt your digestion, absorption, and hormonal response. You'll be fine.
Absolutely. All righty. Where was I? I'm about to. I put it up. Any concerns regarding what pigs are being fed, corn and soy, and the fact that they do not excrete toxins well? Thanks for all you guys do. I don't eat pork that much other than the bacon, so no, I'm not. I'm more worried about what the pigs are eating than I am what the cows are eating, because the cows obviously are multi-chambered stomach. They filter it out so much better. That's why I always try to eat more ruminant meat than anything else. But as far as chicken and pigs, yeah, I mean, I'm not really that worried about it, but maybe somebody else has something a little bit better. Kip, what you think? Pass it off to you again.
I'm pretty much I'm kind of like you, Sean. I eat less pork than I do beef, so I'm not as worried about it. But for me, my version of carnivore, like you kind of stick with what is in your budget, like how Dr. Barry always talks about the panda massaged and all that stuff, or the super great grass fed and all that. I believe that is better. But like, I don't believe it's so much better that sometimes it's not worth the price, because sometimes that stuff is ridiculously priced. And I mean, regular folks can't afford all that stuff. But if you can afford it and you can swing it, get the very best that you can, and you won't regret it. What about you, Dave?
Look, it's a concern, but I'm kind of along the same lines. I just have to stick to what I can get and what's in my budget. And in Japan, like the ground beef even that you can get, it's a 60-40 mix of beef and pork. Yeah, it's probably not great for me, because I imagine it's not panda massaged and that kind of stuff either. But you know, just doing the best I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Larry, how about you?
Yeah, it's not really a concern of mine at all. We eat within our budget, and I focus on staying away from the Big Macs, pizza, the garbage. So not a problem. Dr.
Still
T?
better than the cereal. Still better than the cereal, ain't it? Right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and again, it's all relative, right? So I mean, it's any well, for most people, any meat is going to be better than any plant, right? Some people with extreme autoimmune issues, like Michaela Peterson, she, if she eats pork, she gets a worse reaction than if she were to eat fruit. So she's a bit more sensitive in that, and you do see that in some people with autoimmune issues. Most people do just fine. What the pig is being fed, it does play a role. They're monogastrics, just like Sean said, and they're not as able to detoxify and eliminate the things that they're not meant to eat either, right? Because all animals are supposed to eat what they're supposed to eat, and the pigs are not supposed to eat soy and corn, coy and sorn, and and so, but that's the thing. So just like I was saying about, the linoleic acid, omega-6 is building up in us. They also build up in pigs. And so that's what you find, this is why, Paul Saladino, like, just hates chicken and pork. He's like, look at all this linoleic acid that's in there. That's because that's coming from the plants that they're eating. They're eating these things that they're not supposed to eat, and that will build up in their tissue. And then we get that as a result from that. So you can still get seed oils, these nasty ass seed oils that are major issues. You can get them even if you're not eating seed oils by eating pigs and chicken and things like that. But at the end of the day, it is still meat, and it is going to be better than all the other junk that we could be eating. So again, it's all relative. If you have the the ability to be a bit more discerning and just eat more red meat, that I think that's great. Or if you can get pasture raised pigs that are not eating that garbage, then that's great too. But it's still going to be better than basically anything else you're going to eat.
Absolutely. My friend, buddy of mine, I eat everything but the oink.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he can take it, man. Oh, I just want to say, AJC, congratulations on the 4 pounds.
Nice,
man. That's
Nice work.
that in 1 month. That's still good. I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, maybe probably before that you were putting on 4 pounds a month.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, think about that. Think about that disparity. Like you most people were putting on weight and they're having trouble. Now you're doing something and it's losing back. So you didn't gain weight and you lost 4 pounds. So what is the difference there? Have you been putting on weight? Did you put on 5 pounds, the month before? Now you've lost 4 pounds. So that's a 9-pound swing, right? That's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole point is you're going in the right direction. Yeah. This is something that people can get discouraged on because they see, people, like on this panel that have lost, a massive amount of weight in a short period of time. They go, I want that. Why isn't that working for me? Not everyone's going to lose weight as quickly at first. Now, there are things that you can do. Are you having any sort of coffee or artificial sweeteners or dairy or all these or other sorts of things? Those are all going to slow you down. Those are all going to knock down your progression. So you want to get as close to just meat, just water as you possibly can. And if you're only doing that, you're going to have a better result of it as well. If you are doing that and you're still just getting sort of 4 pounds a month, it means that your body has a bit more healing to do. There's a lot of people that have, for whatever reason, yo-yo dieting, eating different things, their hormones are a bit disrupted, and they need to sort of repair those things, and then they'll start losing a lot more weight. But focus on your health, focus on how you feel, focus on your energy level, and look for the small positives that you may be so focused on that number on the scale that you're missing all of these other positives, and you can get discouraged. So, it's just like the old saying, count your blessings. Look at the things that are going well, look at the improvements that you've been getting, and realize that there's a lot of them. And you'll also, if you're a guy or a gal who's working out and lifting weights a lot, you're going to be putting on muscle. It's easier to put on muscle on a carnivore diet than anything else I've ever done in my entire life. And I've been working out for decades, and this is the easiest. 43 years old, and I put on a pound of muscle every time I go to the gym. It's insane. Sometimes more. It's just nuts. And so that's pretty crazy. So if you're working out and you're lifting weights, you will be putting on muscle. Muscle has weight. It's more dense than fat. And so you can still be losing fat and putting on muscle, and then you won't have the number change all that much on the scale. So that's something to remember as well. You're worried about body composition, you're worried about health, not necessarily just the number on the scale. And long term, if you are one of those few, usually just a single digit percentage of people that will be in that category of hormonal imbalance where they really won't lose much fat. Kelly Hogan gained weight for 6 months, but she felt better all the time, and her health issues were getting so much better. And then after 6 months, something just snapped, and she just started shedding weight. And she's kept it off for over a decade, right? So that can happen. And so it can take months and months and months, even over a year before these hormones actually get better. But I've seen that. I've tracked people's hormones, like their leptin. People that are leptin resistant have massively elevated leptin levels. It's very difficult for them to lose weight. In fact, over a certain point, people say you cannot lose weight without surgery. That's not true. You just need to be on like a very, very strict carnivore diet, or at least a keto diet. And I see people losing weight, and I see them dropping their leptin. And when that leptin gets down to a good level, fat just starts pouring off their body. So you could be in one of those categories. But the most important thing, count your blessings, look at what you're doing, and focus on your health. And secondarily, distant second, what you look like in the mirror and how your clothes are fitting. Because that's much more important than what it says on the scale.
Absolutely. Yeah. That whole thing, to me, I swear, like, what if your body, we get so focused on that number, man. And I have to say this, it's something that I've struggled with, because sharing my journey, I don't like to give the impression that every single person that hears my voice is going to lose 245 pounds in a year, because it's not reality. It's just not going to happen.
I disappear.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Well, I mean, I'm just saying the rate, but the thing is, I never focused on that, and it's a big deal to me, because I'm showing you what's possible. Because if it did it for me, it can do it for you. However, if your body is fighting cancer, if it's fighting a disease, if it's fighting something that you don't even know that you've been diagnosed with, or you even have, and it's completely wiping this toxicity out of your body, or getting rid of a disease or something that you may not even know about. And then on top of that, not only did your body do that, but then again, you also lost 4 pounds. It's hard to look at the rate in which something's happened. And I encourage each and every one of you not to be discouraged about that. Focus on the process, because that you can control. You have no control over the speed of your weight loss. Neither do I. I didn't set that dial at 4.18 pounds a week for the last year and 2 months. If I could, I would have dialed that joker up to about 8 or 9 and had it done in 6 months. We'd be sitting at the beach right now doing something different, Just focus on the process. Get your form right. Like you guys have lifted weights a long time. How you lift, your technique is just important as that you're lifting. And focus on how you're doing it. Focus on the diet. Focus on the getting your mind right, because if your mind gets right, your body's going to follow. And that's something that we can all control. And I think it's super duper important. And here I am rambling. I digress and move on, get on to these super chats. But I think that's worth mentioning. I've been suffering from chronic halitosis for years now. I have been to several dentists and used just about every products out there. Will carnivore diet help me? What you think, Dave?
I would say probably it will. It helped me. Like, in a year and a half ago, this microphone wouldn't have been sitting so close to me. It would have been rejecting me as well. There's nothing worse than when you go towards a person to say something and they instantly move backwards, and you know why they're moving backwards. And it helped me. So, yeah. I think it would. I guess part of it is just getting all that bad bacteria out of your mouth that's left over from the carbohydrate. Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? Anyone else experience halitosis?
I never experienced, not since I had my teeth pulled. I have full set of dentures. And when my teeth were really bad, I had really bad breath, and that's why I was like thrilled to get them. One of the reasons to get rid of them. But when I go through the keto flu, when I'm transitioning to fat burning, I my breath gets pretty rank. But after that, yeah, no problems at all.
Absolutely.
Is there any science behind this that you know of, Dr. Chafee?
Well, yeah, with the oral biome, yeah, you absolutely do improve that. So halitosis is often caused by dysbiosis, and in the mouth, and even down the GI tract. Like if you're your stomach acid is too high, as in higher pH, so lower acidity, then you can build up bacteria and things like that in your stomach, and that can cause all sorts of problems as well. But in the mouth, absolutely, you can get dysbiosis. When you're eating carbohydrates, or just different bugs that eat those carbohydrates, and then the ones that eat the fat and the protein, things like that. So if you're eating what you're supposed to eat, you're going to have the microbiome and oral biome that you're supposed to have as well, because you will support that. Your biome eats what you eat, right? Or the byproducts of what you eat. And so, if you're eating what you're supposed to eat, you're going to cultivate the right bacteria as well. Animals in the wild don't have dentists. They don't have toothbrushes. They can't sterilize their mouth with Listerine and alcohol swabs and things like that. So, they just have to live with their environment. And you lose your teeth in the wild as an animal, you're dead, because you can't eat, right? And so, and before the agricultural revolution, humans had very, very healthy teeth. They were all perfectly straight. That's not a genetic thing. What animal in the wild has crooked, weird teeth? It's just that's abnormal. So that's a developmental issue. That's a malnutrition issue. There are a number of carnivore dentists, such as Dr. Kevin Stock, who talks a lot about this, and talks a lot about the oral biome and how it's significantly improved on a carnivore diet. And he's even said, if you just eat a natural diet, basically a carnivore diet, you don't need dentists. You won't need dentists. You won't get cavities. The kind of bacteria that cause cavities are not supported by a meat-only diet. They're supported by eating carbs and sugar. And so, if you eat properly, you'll work properly. And I would expect as well that the halitosis will go away. Now, sometimes if you have like a rotting tooth or an abscess or something like that, that's going to smell, and that may need to be fixed surgically. That might need to be extracted. But barring that, if it's just just sort of funky breath in general, that will definitely improve on a carnivore diet.
Absolutely.
One more thing as far as the teeth go. The last time I went in to have my prosthetics realigned, the dentist could not believe how clean they were. He's like, "What are you doing to keep these? They look brand new." And I told him why I'm eating a carnivore diet, and he was fascinated by that. But I thought I'd just mention that real quick, because he couldn't believe it. He's like, "These look brand new." So
nice.
Cool.
Absolutely. Thanks for the super chats. I'm gonna start.
Hey guys, listen up real quick, guys. I got to tell y'all something. I'm appalled every time I hear questions like this, because don't y'all know that the carnivore diet cures everything? Like, people always constantly say, and like, will it help this? Will it help that? If you're a human and you're under the sun, it'll help you. So you'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, it does. It helps a whole bunch of these things, and I agree. Like if you're you're human, we're all humans, and so it's going to help all of us. This is the optimal diet for humans. There are things that aren't caused by our diet, but most of the garbage that we're dealing with these days is a direct result of eating the wrong thing. And so it's definitely worth a shot. I mean, we're seeing a lot of things that are responding to a carnivore diet. I mean, even Huntington's disease, that is something I've sort of spoken about before, but that blew me away when I started hearing people improving their symptoms of Huntington's disease. That was something that I thought was basically 100% penetrance, that if you had that gene, you will get Huntington's, and it is very, very serious, debilitating neurodegenerative process that is quite scary. And it apparently, there have been a number of people that have started improving with Huntington's, and that is nuts to me. And if Huntington's can improve, like I'm not gonna hold back on anything. I'm just going to be like, well, let's just wait and see. I don't know. Let's take a look. And so, either way, it's going to help you in so many other ways that, thousands other ways that it's going to make it well worth it. And so even if it doesn't help that specific issue, if it doesn't just fix your hiatal hernia, which I wouldn't expect it to, it's still going to help you in so many other ways that it's definitely well worth it. But Jesus, Huntington's disease is getting helped by this. That's nuts. So hopefully that's more than just, just sort of a random occurrence in these people. Hopefully that's something that's reproducible and other people are finding as well, because that would be amazing if it was.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely almost crazy to think about when you give your body exactly what it was designed and supposed to give your body. It functions how it's supposed to function. The amazing part, though, is, like you say, its ability to fix the issues that you have screwed up by giving it stuff it wasn't supposed to have. Obviously. I'm gonna start, like I said, pumping these out, because I know we're passing the hour mark and I got behind and I'm getting chatty. But Dr. Chapey, can you post optimal blood work ranges? I'm sure he can. If he doesn't want to, doesn't have time to. I know Dr. Barry and Amber, I always want to call Hearn, but it's not. It's Kim Howerton.
Amber. Oh.
It's Kim Howerton. Kim Howerton and Dr. Ken Berry have a whole book about lab values that they put out. So if he doesn't have time, buy that book or check into his website. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, no, I probably should do something like that. It's just sort of like where to sort of post it. And, obviously when you're talking about lab values, these things do matter in context as well. So, it's, sometimes you give out these lab values, people, oh, okay, well, I'm fine for these sorts of reasons. When maybe you aren't. Maybe it's something that needs to be interpreted. So I would never want people to replace that going to the doctor with just some different lab values, but it's something that can sort of help you understand, because just the lab values that we use are indicative of the normal population, which is sick and malnourished, and so understanding that that your B12 actually needs to be a lot higher than it is, and your testosterone and estrogen can be in different ranges more optimally. I think that can be useful to know about as well. But I think I'll probably have to do a video on that. I'll make a note of that. Do a video on lab values, reference ranges, because otherwise I don't really know where I'd put it, because I haven't really put my website together. But that would be an easy place to do it as well. But yeah, I'll see about making a video on something like that and going through some of those things.
Absolutely. Alrighty. Oh, brain game. If you're eating high fat carnivore, does that fat actually eventually get burned like your normal body fat, or does it not deposit to your fat stores? Well, I mean, every cell in your body needs fat to replicate itself. All the mitochondria in your whole body uses fat to create energy, correct? So, I mean, it's not just that you're creating fat cells and it's being stored or burned as energy. Your body has every cell, every erythrocyte, everything in your body uses that fat for you to stay alive. It's not just in energy form. So, I mean, yeah. Right. I mean, do you have anybody, you guys got something further? Dr. Tavy, you want to hit that one? Or?
So, I mean, you use it. I mean, so this is an essential nutrient, and it's an energy source. So we're going to use it, and we're going to use our fat as well. It can deposit. I mean, but that's like going to, it's like going to the gas station, filling up your car and filling up your tank, and then just running on your tank. I mean, that's what you do. That's what we're supposed to do. So you eat a big meal, and then you run on that for a while. So yeah, you're going to put down some fat, and then you're going to use it. And you're going to preferentially use your excess body fat as well. So your body's not going to be telling you to eat as much food because it has stuff. So you're gonna eat stuff. You're going to be satiated at a certain point, and then you're going to just run on that. You'll find that when you get down to a stable body fat percentage, your appetite will go up. When I got down to a stable body fat percentage, and my body was just like, yep, this is where I need it. My appetite literally doubled nearly overnight. Instead of like a big fatty ribeye every day, I had 2. And so I was like, okay, this is what I need. And that stayed pretty stable. And if I'm working out more and really pushing myself, then that will increase as well. So it's demand driven, and your body will ask for more or less depending on what you need. And just, as long as you're giving it what it needs, it will figure out the rest. So don't worry too much about that.
Absolutely. Thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for your thoughts. Peninsula is really incredible whenever you're on the road. There you go. Awesome, man. Enjoy it, my friend. Cookies, I cook a steak too and take it with me.
Yeah.
Appreciate the super chat, Dr. Chafee. Free from coffee and Diet Pepsi addiction, thanks to your recommendation of using caffeine pills. The addiction's gone. Awesome, Adam.
Awesome. Great job. Yeah.
That's great, man.
That's really good.
Best thing to do. Awesome. Oh, let's see. Christina, Dr. Chafee, what are your thoughts on Install and berberine? Is it another trend?
Well, I mean, they're medications, right? So, I mean, they can help in certain circumstances. So like berberine is sort of similar to like metformin, it's going to sort of, help sort of lower blood sugar and things like that. And so, if you're diabetic or you have cancer and you want to lower your blood sugar levels, or maximize your GKI, your glucose ketone index, which is you want your glucose down and your ketones up. There may be a role for those things, but like all medicine, it's specific to your circumstances. So if you have a medical condition that would benefit from those medications, then those medications may be helpful, but you don't take medicine every day just because, right? You only take it for specific circumstances. So it would depend on the person, but it would depend on the person, depend on the circumstance, depend on what they're doing. I think for most people, I don't think you need to do any of that sort of thing. I don't think you need to take a bunch of supplements or medication. And hopefully you're coming off medication. You don't, but that's another thing too. If you're on a bunch of medication for blood sugar, diabetes, or heart or blood pressure, you can't just stop overnight. You still need those medications for a while, and so you'll need to slowly titrate those things down if you're able to. So just remember that. There's a few people I've spoken to that had diabetes and they're on a bunch of medications, and they're like, I'm on carnivore, but my blood sugar is like really going up. And I'm like, okay, well, are you on medication? Have you stopped taking it? I was like, oh yeah, I just stopped all my diabetes medication because I'm on carnivore. I don't need to take medication anymore. Like, well, no, not so fast. You still have to take that stuff. It's just eventually you'll probably be able to come off most of it, if not all of it, but you can't just stop. You need to give your body a chance to heal first. So, certain circumstances, those medications might be beneficial, but most people, just without medications, anything like that, you shouldn't need that sort of thing.
I was going to throw in, I have not taken any blood pressure medicine this week. I finally dropped the last 2 pills. That means I'm
awesome.
all the only medication that I'm having to use at this point is the testosterone until I can get it checked and get back into the same place. I'm doing it, and it's half the dose that it was when I originally started. But I come off 3 blood pressure pills, allopurinol, colchicine, and that's I did want to report that. I didn't think of it till you brought up the medication stuff, but it's amazing going from 3 blood pressure pills last year to none now. So I am extremely thankful for the blessing of this way of eating, man.
Yeah, I felt pretty good about losing, stopping one medication.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing, man, because that's something that I was told, probably end up taking that the rest of my life, blood pressure. So you don't think there's a way to come off this to lower your blood pressure and your blood pressure still be within normal ranges and adequate, to not harm your kidneys and everything else. But it's amazing, man. It's almost unbelievable. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, pharmaceutical companies out of business.
Yeah. There's some of these things that are going to still be useful, but we'll direct them in actually useful ways instead of just perpetuating this disease state and just keeping people just sick and lingering on for decades. Actually do something fucking useful with their time, right? And and actually like try to actually cure diseases that actually need to be addressed, instead of selling us poison and then also selling us with one hand and then selling us the antidote with the other. I mean that's just a terrible I mean, it's a great business model for those assholes, but it's not great for us. So you want to get out of that, and then and then direct the market towards actually providing some actual benefit and use to society, which they can do. They're more than capable of it. These very smart people with with very 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 deep resources. They could do a lot of good for people. We just need to direct the market in that direction and make it not profitable to perpetuate this disease cycle. And then they have to figure something else out that's actually useful to do.
Absolutely. Stand up, tell your story. That's why everybody on this panel tonight encourages people to tell their story. If you've been blessed, share that with people, and obviously I'm extremely thankful. And every time we get a chance to put the pharmaceutical company, the big food, out of business, then we should take it. Glory to God for it. Oh, been on carnivore 6 months. In 2 months, my A1C went from 5. I only eat beef, bacon, eggs, coffee, some cheese, heavy cream. What gives? I would probably say that cheese and heavy cream is probably the lactose and the ingredients, and that's probably knocking your issue. I don't know that. I have no idea, but that would be my best guess. What you think, Kip? You got any suggestions for?
Yeah, that's the only thing that I see in here that's an issue, because I mean the rest is beef, bacon, and eggs, and I don't think that that's going to cause an issue. You might want to try cutting the cheese and the heavy cream. I know for me, I cut the cheese and the heavy cream, and that helped me not only with like my insulin levels, but it also helped me to lose more weight. Whenever I started cutting the cheese out and any dairy, it just the scale started working in my favor. So, anybody else got any recommendations on that?
I can just add something about cheese. I did the BBBE challenge strict for like 220 days with no cheese, and I reintroduced it for about a week, and man, I got inflamed. Everything started hurting. It was crazy. And I'm really glad I did that experiment, because I stay away from it now. I mean, it really affected me. I couldn't believe it. So, but I was looking at, beef, bacon, eggs, coffee, some cheese, heavy cream. I'm like, that's my diet. minus the cheese, but the heavy cream, me and Cassie still battle with that. Anybody else?
I would say definitely get the cheese out. Definitely try without the cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Dr.
Well, I was just going to say, is it Alabama? Do they not say cutting the cheese for farting? Is that not what it was? Every time kids say that, every time I cut the cheese, and I would cut the cheese. I'm just like a little 6-year-old here, just like joking at, laughing at like a fart joke. So sorry about that. That was why I was sort of like laughing to myself like an idiot. But yeah, so look, yes, I would agree with everyone. It's going to be optimal to sort of cut off anything that's just not meat and water. People do respond negatively to dairy quite often. It's a major stall for fat loss, and can certainly cause inflammation. The casein and milk proteins in the dairy can be very, very pro-inflammatory, especially for some people. As to HbA1c, this is relative to what you're eating as well, because there can be false low readings and false high readings on that. So this HbA1c assumes that your red blood cells are living for 3 months. Okay. And so they don't necessarily always live for 3 months, but that's the average. That's the general average for the general person. Now, you can eat a whole bunch of plant sterols and a lot of plant false, pseudo cholesterols, and that will actually replace some of the cholesterols in your body. And major part of your body that's made up of cholesterol are your cell membranes. All of your cell membranes are made out of cholesterol, and you get these plant sterols start replacing some of these things out. If you don't have enough cholesterol and you're eating a whole bunch of these plant junk garbage, they're not good. They're not as good. You get more stiff, rigid red blood cells. They're sort of this biconcave donut shaped cell that sort of flop and fold around. They'll fold in half and go around little real tight areas in the capillaries. They have to, or else you get clotted off. You get it. That's called a stroke, right? And so you can't do that. And so if your red blood cells can't navigate these really, really tortuously small capillaries, they got to go. And so in your spleen, you have some of the smallest areas in your whole body, so that once they start struggling and going through there slowly, bang, they just snake them out, pull them out, eat them, kill them, and get them out of your system. So usually that happens about 3 months. If you're eating a bunch of plant sterols, that will happen earlier. Your red blood cells will actually be dying off earlier. And that what HbA1c is it's yes, your blood sugar will glycate things, right? So the glucose molecules will physically fuse to other molecules like your hemoglobin. That's what HbA1c is. It's that glycated end product of hemoglobin and your glucose. So the longer your red blood cells and your hemoglobin is being exposed to the blood sugar, right, the higher that's going to be. And the higher the blood sugar is, and the longer the exposure, the higher that's going to be. But if you're getting a bunch of plant sterols and your red blood cells are stiff and rigid and they don't last as long, then they're not going to be as exposed to blood sugar as long. So you'll have artificially low blood sugar, HbA1c, but your blood sugar is high, right? So people's blood sugar can be high, but their HbA1c is low. That's weird. Why is that? Then you have the converse, where you have someone on a carnivore diet, where you have really healthy cholesterol, really healthy red blood cells, and really low blood sugar. And you're checking blood sugar every day, and you're like, this is really low, but now my HbA1c is going up, but my blood sugar is lower. So what the hell does that mean, right? Because it should indicate your long-term exposure to and basically what your blood sugar control is. But people check this stuff every day, and it's low, but their HbA1c goes up. Why the hell is that? It's lower than their blood sugar was lower than it was, but their HbA1c is going up. That's because the red blood cells are living longer, right? And so if their things are living 4 months instead of 3 months, they're going to be exposed to the low levels of blood sugar that are in your body, and your HbA1c is going to go up a little bit. And so that's something that we do actually see. And so if you corrected everything else, then that's what's going on. And you can just check this very easily. You can just check your blood sugar on a daily basis and just see, hey, is this in the normal ranges or not? If it's not in the normal ranges, then and your HbA1c is going up, well, then you need to start thinking, okay, what the hell is affecting me, and what's going on? But that is something that is actually quite common to see, and that is generally an indication that you're actually healthier and doing better. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. You can always just check your daily blood sugar just to confirm that.
And doesn't that knock out everything, all the statistics and everything else? Because all the statistics and all the tests and lab values are based on your red blood cells living a certain amount of time. So whenever you start looking at your blood living longer and your HbA1c being falsely negative, lower or positive, or higher, there's no telling what else that affects as well. So, that's just food for thought for everybody as well.
Yeah.
Oh, I know we're pushing an hour and a half. I'm gonna hit a couple more of these. Let's see here. What's this next one? On keto carnivore for 4 years, loving it. Your thoughts on the RCT suggesting long-term ketosis increases cortisol. MD Paul Saladino and Dr. Mercola say long-term ketosis is harmful. Okay.
Yeah, if I can just jump in, I literally just did a debate with a guy named Georgie Dinkoff, nice guy, but he was a guy who turned Mercola onto this, and so he was talking about that sort of stuff. So Richard Smith, who I've had on the podcast before, he goes by Keto Pro. We did a sort of response video to that Mercola interview and sort of went through with the counter evidence and counter studies and things like that. And then 2 days later, just funny enough, I actually debated Georgie Dinkoff. Funny enough, we actually agreed on a lot more than we disagreed on, and in fact, his response and position was much more nuanced than just like, you can't be in ketosis, it's bad for you. He was saying that you can be, you know, he said, I actually really like carnivore. I think it's really good and you can do it. But he's saying that I think you need to do it in this specific sort of way for optimal results. And we sort of talked about that. We sort of went back and forth on the different studies and things like that. So no, I mean, there are many different studies that go into cortisol and ketosis. And in fact, a lot of them show that, like in long-term ketosis, people, so there's one for 8 weeks, they found that people's cortisol level actually went down significantly. Okay. And then there was one that followed people for 2 years, and they found that their cortisol did not go up. They're like, well, your thyroid function goes down. No, their thyroid function either stayed the same or went up. So like I think their T3 stayed the same, but their T4 went up. Right. And so, you know, they actually had a lot of these improvements that go exactly counter to that after 2 years of long-term ketosis. And also, more importantly, not only did, and now there are some studies that show that cortisol level will go up mildly, but that doesn't necessarily cause problems of hypercortisolism. In fact, all of the studies I found, I couldn't find a single study that showed the opposite. All the studies that I could find all said very clearly that regardless of cortisol levels, that being on a ketogenic diet long-term alleviates and ameliorates all symptoms, signs, and byproducts of hypercortisolism. So it doesn't matter what your cortisol is. Functionally in your body, you are removing all of those signs of, you know, Cushing's, things like that. So you do not get Cushing's. That's flat out, you don't. And in fact, people that do have Cushing's, either primary or secondary, in fact, they are traditionally put on a ketogenic diet to basically stabilize them and stabilize their symptoms while they're getting medical treatment or surgical treatment. If they have like a pituitary tumor that's pumping out too many hormones like ACTH, which then stimulate cortisol. And in fact, they and this is in the studies, they say like this is what you do. You put people on a ketogenic diet before and after medical or surgical treatment to address the primary cause. So whether or not your cortisol goes up really is, now there's some studies that show that they don't go up or go down, but whether they go up or go down, the symptoms and signs of hypercortisolism go away. Right. And that's really what matters. And so there's a number of people that theorize that the reason that cortisol can go up in some groups that go on a ketogenic diet is not because they're getting a derangement of their cortisol and their body, oh my God, I'm in a stress state, I'm freaking out. And you're getting all these sorts of problems. It's that they had artificially suppressed cortisol in the first place. And that this is actually just correcting their hormones. And we see this, and people say, "Oh, well, you're gonna gain a lot of weight." Well, in fact, in that group, the 2 year, long-term group with keto, they lost a statistically significant amount of significant weight loss, and there was another study in adolescents who were on put on a ketogenic diet for epilepsy, and so big study, a lot of kids. And they found that they were very, very lean, skinny kids. And actually they found like, okay, well, do they start gaining weight, afterwards, because they want to catch these kids up actually, because they thought they were too slim. Well, no, they're probably just normal. It's just all the other kids are fat. And they found that they as soon as they came off a ketogenic diet, they gained a significant amount of weight. Right. So, it's really the opposite, so it's saying that, long-term ketosis, you're going to put on weight, you're going to put on abdominal adiposity, you're going to raise your cortisol, you're going to get hypercortisolism. In fact, we find the opposite. Maybe your cortisol comes up a bit, maybe it doesn't, but all the other byproducts, abdominal adiposity, visceral fat, getting all the signs of hypercortisolism, those actually improve, if anything. And so, no. I don't think that's something you need to worry about. This is the state. Again, go back to first principles. What were we designed to eat biologically? What are people eating for the last 2 million years? What were people eating, in the ice ages when there was no carbohydrates available whatsoever? What are the Inuit eating now? You know, what are the Nanette eating now? You know, Maasai, they drink milk. There's carbs in there, sure, but you know, a lot of other of tribes and civilizations that don't eat any of this stuff. And then the long-term trials and current people today show that, you know, we get the opposite. We get amelioration of hypercortisolism as opposed to propagation of hypercortisolism. I've been doing this for 5.5 going on 6 years now. I'm not gaining weight. I'm not gaining, adiposity and things like, and Georgie, who I think is a really nice guy. And I think he made a lot of really good points. And again, we agreed on like probably 98% of what we spoke about. So I think it's important for people to understand that. And I think it's important for people to understand that his actual views are much more nuanced than it just appears as it's don't be in ketosis all the time, you're going to get fat. That's not the case. And that's not what he said, during our discussion and debate as well. He's actually very pro carnivore diet as well. That'll be interesting. That'll be on Brian Grin's podcast. That'll come out in the next couple of weeks. And people can see that, and Richard Smith and I will be releasing our video and our take on the Mercola interview as well in the coming weeks. But that's the thing. I don't have to worry about that, I don't think.
Awesome. You guys there's 630 people. I hope you've hit the like button. If you haven't hit the like button, now's a perfect chance to do that. Subscribe to the channel where you're at. Subscribe to these guys. It's awesome. It's always good. And I just want to welcome Michael Jackson to the show. That's hey,
nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So I'll get a few more. Let's knock these. Dr. Chafee, do you have any thoughts about what the health? It makes same points and arguments with doctors and success stories as carnivore. Except it's all the opposite. Plant-based, low-fat. They don't march across that freaking stage and show people healing diseases and losing that kind. Maybe losing weight, but they're not doing it healthily. So nevertheless,
yeah. Well, look, there's more than one ways to skin a cat, right? And if you're going away from ultra-processed foods, which are plant-based, you're going to get better, and you're going to do better than you would have otherwise, mostly. But vegan, plant-based, vegetarian diets, also include Oreo cookies and heroin. So, what the hell is that? Right. So, you're going to go on the Oreo cookie and heroin diet and improve. Oh, well, just as long as you don't eat meat, that's the only thing. I mean, that's dumb.
Weight.
And so, what's that? You lose weight. Yeah. Well, no, but there are a lot of people that go vegan, vegetarian, and do it that, just the junk food crap version, and they put on a whole bunch of weight and they get much more sick, So really what it is they're avoiding, the more harmful plant-based foods, because processed foods, ultra processed foods are plant foods. Again, processed meat is not processed with more meat. They add plant sugar and seed oils to it, right? So that's the problem. And so you're eliminating that out and you go to a whole food sort of approach. Yeah, you're going to get better. You talk to people that are vegan and they improve. So they're not on the Oreo cookie diet. They'll say, oh yeah, I went vegan, vegetarian. I just got so much better. I was like, okay. So the only thing you changed was meat. That's the only thing that you changed, right? Because if we're talking about, variables, right? Like you need to keep it exact. Yeah, no, the only thing I changed, I just went vegan. Everything went great. Okay. So you're still eating cakes and pies and drinking alcohol and eating cookies and this and that, drinking sodas and smoking cigarettes. Oh, no. And I stopped eating all sugar. I don't eat cookies. I don't eat out. I don't eat any processed foods. I eat all, I eat at home. All whole foods, no sodas, no alcohol, stop smoking. I'm like, okay. So you've changed like 9,000 other things as well. All of them were plant-based. You got rid of all things that are plants and you threw the baby out with the bathwater. Because I see people that only eat meat, exclusively eat meat, and and they get the exact same improvements. Or in fact, they get more improvements. And you get people that are plant-based, they get initial improvements, then they stop getting improvements, they start getting worse. They're nutrient deficient and deprived, and these oxalates and tannins, all these sorts of things start building up, and then they go meat-based, and they go like, oh my God, this saved my life. So there's an even further improvement. When you drop the rest of the plants and actually reintroduce meat as well. What the Health was the most painful thing I've ever watched in my entire life. friend of mine, good friend of mine, you know, when I was first sort of, you know, making these discoveries, that had just come out. So, oh, you got to watch this. Oh, it's really making change. Oh, it's such a good documentary. And I'm like, it looks like crap, but all right, I'll watch it just for you. And within 2 minutes, I was already screaming at the screen, you know? And so it took me 4 hours, actually 4 hours, to watch the first hour of this piece of shit movie. And that's because I was just going, and I was just writing my responses, you know, to my friend about how bullshit this was, like a point by point. I'm like, well, that's fucking crap, and here's why, and here's resources, and here's a link, and here's a study, you know, just showing how bullshit this is. And I got an hour into it, and it took me 4 hours to do it. And then he started talking about, and then cows, and they're bad for them. I'm fucking done. You know, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore. You know, this is just awful. This is just going to go on like this. This is a waste of my time. I've already proven my point. This is crap. I don't need to look at the rest of this. And, you know, so it's complete propaganda. It's total bullshit. And it's verifiable. I mean, you know, the doctors they got on there, what was that idiot's name? You know, he's a vegan guy. Can't remember his name, but, you know, I mean, this guy's literally spitting out malpractice. I mean, he is flat out spitting out, you know, verified misinformation about how diabetes, you know, goes about, and it's just going to harm people. So that's the definition of malpractice. You do the wrong thing, give the wrong advice, and it causes harm. And this advice is wrong. It's incorrect. It's verifiably incorrect, and it definitely causes harm. So that guy should face repercussions for that, and at least be made aware how serious his divergence from the known literature is. But yeah, that's a terrible ass video. I'll try and see if I can find my my write up, because yeah, I was like screaming voice to text into my phone and all this sort of shit.
That would be awesome to see that.
What's that?
That would be awesome to see a write up on it. That would be great.
Oh man, yeah. If I can find it, I will. I really don't want to watch it again. So yeah, so we'll have to see. Like, if it, you know, if I can find that write up though, then I'll definitely put it up.
It's like, what was it? The joke that they used to tell, or there was a meme going around about not too long back, but the guy was like, he worked at this place for 15 years, and he was applying for a new job, and he said, well, how long have you worked here? And he said 25 years or something. And he's like, how did you worked here 25 years or something? You're only, you know, 20 years old or whatever. Nevertheless, the whole gist of it, he's like, how did you work that many years? You're not even that old. And he's like, overtime, you know.
Yeah,
it's just painful to watch. It's pain. I'll forget the joke. Nevertheless,
I haven't seen that documentary, but now I actually want to go watch it. And while I watch it, I'm gonna just picture Dr. Chafee and his responses in my head the whole time.
Screaming in his phone.
Beep, beep. It's a really good documentary to watch if you feel like stabbing yourself in the eyes with a pencil.
Yeah. We're stabbing them in the eye with a pencil.
Listen, I just can't do it. I'm still waiting to see those diabetes. You know, this diet. I've never heard of anything other than carnivore healing, reversing type 2 diabetes. Like, you show me a vegan video, show me a whatever video, and I will be more than happy to watch it and whatever. Maybe not for very long, because my guys here, they say how horrible it is, and I take their word for it, you know, because it's hard to watch some people that go nauseatingly long with that. But nevertheless,
well, I mean, look, I was just going to say, I mean, there are clinical trials in humans, the only ones that exist, that you can reverse type 2 diabetes with ketogenic diet, and especially if you remove seed oils, which these are plant oils, only things that come from plants. And that, you know, there are more and more studies and RCTs and meta-analyses showing that meat is not bad for you at all, and that saturated fat is good for you, protects against stroke, does not cause heart disease, is not even associated with heart disease. And in fact, there was just a study that came out recently, it was reported in the Telegraph, saying that, oh, well, meat may maybe not be as bad as we thought. And they found that a lot of these groups that they were like, oh, well, you should eat less saturated fat. The groups that ate less saturated fat were less healthy. You know, there was a direct correlation between the amount of saturated fat people were eating and the overall health. And so, eating this garbage, these plants and things like that, that just causes harm, and the seed oils as well. What was I going to go with that?
Oh,
Jesus Christ. Sort of lost my train of thought, but anyway, that so sucks. Yeah.
Seed oil. Could you guys please answer the question? Period. Is olive oil considered a seed oil? It's looked on Google, can't find anything. What do you think, Larry? You got olive oil, a seed oil?
I'm actually really looking forward to the doctor's answer on this because I miss olive oil. I find that I burn butter, or when I use ghee, there's just a higher temperature threshold for actually olive oil. So it's just I miss using it, and I'd really like to hear, is it what's the deal with olive oil?
Yeah, it's better than other oils. I think it's technically a fruit oil, so it's from like the pulp of the fruit, as opposed to this is, it's something that we've been able to just press out of olives, for thousands of years, as opposed to this crazy huge industrial process that's only been around for 100 years or so, with the first with cottonseed, and then canola and all that sort of stuff. So it's better. It's and it has more saturated fats and things like that than the other ones. But anything liquid at room temperature is inherently unstable. As soon as that oil comes out of the plant, it becomes much less stable, and it will start to rancify and then become rancid and break down. It has a lot of omega-6s. Unfortunately, it has a lot more omega-6 and omega-3s, and it has a lot of these very pro-inflammatory. Well, omega-6 is pro-inflammatory, but other things are pro-inflammatory, and they break down and oxidize and go and turn into free radicals, so reactive oxygen species. So, look at all these antioxidants in olive oil. Well, you let it sit too long, and it becomes very much more. They're much more oxidants than antioxidants, especially when you cook with them. You can't cook with them at all. So if you had fresh olive oil that you pressed that day and you drizzled that on something, it's better than the alternative. It's been sitting there for a year, I wouldn't use it. If you cook with it, definitely not, because it's always reacting and breaking down, right? So that's a chemical reaction, is this degradation into these harmful pro-oxidative byproducts. When you increase the temperature of a reaction by 10 degrees Celsius, you double the reaction rate. And so if you bring this up to cooking temperature, right, you'll increase the reaction rate by millions of times. Right. So it doesn't matter. Even if you're cooking things for a very short period of time, it will complete that reaction, will become very, very oxidative and toxic. So it's not good to cook with. Most olive oil that you buy is not olive oil. And it's certainly not extra virgin olive oil. Most of it's like mixed with like soybean oil or canola oil, and they just call it extra virgin olive oil. So that's another thing as well. Coconut oil is more stable. If it's solid at room temperature, it's more stable, and it's just going to be it's going to have a higher smoke point as well. Generally, olive oil will have a lower smoke point. Yeah, butter is hard to cook with because the proteins will smoke. But tallow or lard will have a much higher smoke point as well. Ghee usually does have a higher smoke point unless it's not completely removed of the protein. So that's a bit interesting. But if you're having problems with the smoke, then I would go with probably tallow, duck fat, lard, something like that. And that has a much higher smoke point. It's a much better composition of fatty acids as well. And that's another thing too. There's just the different kinds of fatty acids that are in animal fats as opposed to olive oil are better. Coconut oil is pretty good too. A lot of saturated fats, but it's actually mostly saturated fats, probably more saturated fat than butter even. But it has some of those plant sterols and things like that, which aren't awesome.
All righty. Thank you. Let's see here. I switched my screen, jumped out of my thing, lost my place. We'll take one more, and then we're gonna wrap it up because it's getting time. I know other people have appointments they have to get to and stuff we got to get done. I appreciate you guys. If I missed you guys, I apologize. I will do better. Last one. Any idea how much organ meat or other cuts are in ground beef compared to ground chuck? What you got, Kip? You want to weigh in on that one?
Look,
Really
I have
smoking.
no idea the answer to that
Come on,
question.
man, you
I
haven't been
just eat the ground
smoking
chuck
the
or eat the
past
ground beef. Yeah, but I never was like, I know how to smoke them all day long, but I don't know how much organ meat is actually in them. I just know that they're really good on the smoker, and if you don't have a smoker, you need to get one.
There you go.
Anybody
Yeah.
else?
What you got, Dave? You want to weigh in? Anybody?
I don't eat organs, but I'm going to guess, it's probably in proportion to the size of the animal. Like, that is the proportions you should probably be eating it. Like, because I think you could overdo the vitamins or the nutrition that's in it. I'm not sure. Larry or Dr. Chafee, do you want to jump in on this?
I usually eat liver like about twice a week, maybe 4 ounces a serving, and I feel better when I eat it. I have cut it out for a bit, and I could tell the difference. So I feel better on it. Dr. Chafee.
Yeah. Well, having a bit of liver is totally fine. I do think you should eat it in proportion to the animal. Most people will be just fine on whatever, but especially coming from a nutritionally deficient state, liver's your best friend. It'll help catch you up with a lot of things. So it's great, especially early on. I've checked my bloods and vitamins and minerals and things like that after a few years of being on just ribeyes and things like that. I was up in optimal levels. So there may have been a lag for me to get there, but after a couple of years, I was definitely there. To that question on how much is actually in ground beef, it depends. So if you look at the pre-made patties like at Costco or somewhere else, the sort of the cheaper ones generally have more organ meat, and so it even said up to 60% beef heart or something like that in there, or other sort of organ meats. And so that might be something that you might be interested in, if that's, and they can be cheaper as well. They might have other sort of fillers and crap in there as well. So I would keep an eye out for that, but you can usually see it is not going to be in your normal, just ground beef sort of packet, fresh from the butcher. It's usually in the frozen patties. They usually use a lot of organs in those, and you should see that in the ingredients list. It should say up to a certain percentage of organs or beef heart or whatever. Usually heart. They use a lot of heart in that, and you can see, and then just make sure it doesn't have any other sort of things in like other fillers and starch and things like that in the ingredients as well.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys. Anybody got anything else to add before we wrap this thing up?
I got somebody with a question, Sean, real quick for just you guys. What's the best time of day to check ketone levels if fighting disease? I have been told different times. Any advice on maximizing ketosis? Thank you. That's from Sarah.
Well, yeah. So, I've never checked my ketones, so I don't know, best time of day. You usually just check them twice a day, in the morning when you first get up, and then in the evening, pre-meal, you can take them post-meal, whatever you're doing, just do it consistently, just sort of the same time every day, these same sort of points. And then you can just get consistent. If you're doing it at different times at different days, it may not be as consistent, and you may not be able to track things as well. So you can try it at different times of the day, but then just do it at those same times. The only time that I really think that it's there's other times that medically it can be a good idea to get your ketones up, but specifically in cancer, getting your GKI up, so your glucose down, your ketones up, is a good idea. Just eating more fat, that usually does it. So you're having sort of 2 grams of fat to 1 gram of protein will generally keep your ketones pretty well boosted, and avoiding all the artificial sweeteners and sugars and lectins that are going to increase insulin or act as insulin and suppress ketones. That's very, very important. So being very, very, very strict. Meat and water, fatty meat, very fatty meat, having more than 1 gram of fat to gram of protein.
Good deal. Anybody? Dave, you got anything?
I don't have anything to add to that.
Anybody?
Y'all know that the only tracking I do is tracking those buffalo. Come on now.
Get out of here, Kip. Larry, you got anything to add further than that before we close up?
No. I actually, I'm very fascinated. Dr. Chafee's never tracked his ketones. We just started doing it recently, maybe like 3 or 4 months ago. So, no, I got nothing to add though.
Yeah. No, I think for most people, like if you're just eating what you're supposed to eat, your ketones are going to be what they are. Like the Inuit, their ketones aren't all that high.
Right.
Okay, so they're not in ketosis then. Well, of course they are. They're making glucose and glycogen. They're not dying, so obviously they're in ketosis. They're in that metabolic state. It's just their ketones aren't jacked up to the moon. Obviously, that's not a requisite.
They're not sitting around worried about it.
Yeah, exactly. They're just eating, and they're getting on with their life, and that's what I think this is a best part about this is that you can just eat and just get on with your life. You don't have to worry too much about it, and so I don't think there's much utility in tracking your ketones unless there's a problem, or your blood sugar if you're diabetic and things like that, or if you have cancer and you're trying to adjust your GKI and optimize that and get that as low as possible. You want that under 2 or under 1 if you can, if you have cancer. So that seems to be what the literature shows in animal and human models is best, is if you get your GKI as low as possible.
Awesome. You got anything else to add before we wrap it up, sir?
All good.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys joining us tonight. We will look forward to seeing you guys next time. Listen, man, I've read a lot of stuff, you guys being discouraged and stuff, having issues, going through stuff. Stay strong, keep fighting for the answers, and don't lose that hope, man. And we'll see you next time. We appreciate you. Stay strong and keep pushing forward. See you guys.